quickly wanted to get on here to explain the directions for the Timed Write. So you can find the Timed Write on Google Classroom. Let's start by just opening up the Timed Write document. This is where you'll be typing up your 2 paragraphs before you submit on Google Classroom. In the first paragraph, you're going to be comparing brain or cognitive development across 2 different age groups. And then in the second paragraph, you're comparing social development across 2 different age groups. So let me just break down those directions a little bit more. You are going to be using the information from your own final presentation. So for your age group, let's say, for example, that you presented on birth to 3 years old. So you're going to be comparing birth to 3 years old with one other age group. A really good resource for this will be obviously your presentations from this week, where you'll hear another group present. What might end up being best is if you just use the presentation that you heard over Google Hangouts this week. So if you open up the presentation schedule, which I put on the assignment as well, you will be able to have access to every other group slide presentation. That just reminded me, if you didn't change the sharing settings on your slides, make sure you do that now. So for example, let me just quickly show you how to change the sharing settings. When you have your presentation open, you're going to click Share, and then you just want to change the setting. You might have to click Advanced, and then you're going to change the setting. You want to make sure it's not off. You want to make sure it's on so that anyone with the link can see it, just so we can all use each other's presentations if we need it to help us write the Timed Write. Okay, so with that said, you should be able to access everyone's slides on the document. And let's say that I am in UU's group and I'm going to compare my age group 3 to 7 with Bella's group, birth to 3 years. So it's going to be helpful to have my own presentation open. And then it's also going to be helpful to have another group's presentation open. And then essentially in the Timed Write, oh, it looks like they linked their questions. That will work fine as well. So essentially, the first paragraph is about how the brain is changing or developing. So that's going to correspond to this question here. And for their project, it's going to be brain development and changes. So using the information from 2 different projects, my own project and then another group's project, I should be able to write that first paragraph where I'm comparing how the brain is developing from 2 different age groups. And then for the second paragraph, let me find where it was. For the second paragraph, you're doing the same thing, but this time you're comparing social development. So you could be like comparing across the 2 different age groups in terms of how they're developing socially, what their social skills are like, and what social situations they're in at that age. So to give you a quick example, this presentation that happened today in group 1, in these 2 groups, one thing that came across really clear to me was the difference in the ability to feel empathy. So in the younger age group, in the birth to 3 years old, the presenters were talking about how it's really difficult or it's impossible developmentally for children under 3 years old to experience the emotion of empathy. They don't yet developmentally have that ability to think of what it would be like from another person's perspective. They don't have that ability to empathize and to think about how other people are feeling. They're very self-centered, and the world is just all about their own wants and needs because that's just where they're at developmentally. And then in the group presenting on 3 to 7-year-olds, they were talking about how children at this age begin to develop empathy so they can, comfort other people when they're sad and they can guess at other people's emotions based on their facial expressions, and so on. So that would be an example of something I could put in that second paragraph. Okay. The last resource I wanted to point out, so the main and most important resource is going to be your peers' presentations on this document. So you can use the actual presentation that you heard in your Google Hangout. You can also use any other presentation that's linked here, that's fine. And the other important resource is the rubric. So it's this document here. It's really similar to the rubrics we've had on past Timed Right. So I'm not making this different than anything we've done in the past, just to keep it straightforward. So you can see here, like specifically where the points come from, and you can use this as a way to quickly check over your work before you submit it. Yeah, so first paragraph, brain cognitive abilities. Second paragraph, social abilities. Last resource I wanted to point out is if you're having a hard time just like reading through the presentations, you just want to watch another group's presentation. I linked here also one group's presentation that I recorded. So once this loads, you'll be able to watch another group's presentation if you want to watch that before you get started on your Timed Right, and you can use their age group that they presented on to compare in your Timed Right. Okay, so this is due Monday at midnight, so you have the rest of the week, the weekend, and then Monday, so plenty of time to sign up for office hours, ask questions, and yeah, if anything is confusing about this, just let me know, and I'm happy to answer your questions, or I can also explain the directions differently or provide more resources. Yeah, so just let me know. Okay.